Hello, everybody. It's just a few days after the Roe decision overturning. Hey, Dad. There's one of my wonderful children. I'm so glad we didn't abort him. Hey, sweetie. And I wanted to comment because a few weeks ago I released a video on a 5-Minute Friday. It was, do we need all these government subsidies in order to end abortion? And in that video, of course, I didn't have a whole long time to handle it because I try to address the most basic concepts and arguments in about 5 minutes or less. Usually I go over. This time I went under. But one of the things, I wanted to go back and retouch on some things because I've honestly got this as a real argument today. I've been seeing so many, basically I've been seeing a lot of comments where people are saying that if pro-lifers really cared about babies and things like that, that the government would pay for every single thing that baby needs. The government would pay for all the diapers, free delivery, free everything, which, you know, in my opinion, it's a very childish response. For one thing, I can't believe that people have gotten to where they think that it's the taxpayers' responsibility to pay for every single need they have for their children. For one, they almost act like the money's coming straight from the government, as if the government just waves a magic wand and that's where they get all the money from. But also, just this idea, you know, that everyone else should be paying for your children. It's kind of a strange and absurd notion to me. I address a lot of these issues in another video, so I'm not going to go too in depth in them, but it's almost like a very childish idea of looking at the world, almost unrealistically. Like, you know, why doesn't Elon Musk end world hunger by paying all that money to these foreign countries to end world hunger? As if it were that simple. Like, oh, we could end world hunger by buying everybody a meal. You know, not taking into considerations that a lot of these governments are causing their people to be hungry, and so they would just steal the money anyway. But it's also a childish notion. Let's end homelessness by buying everyone a house. Well, if you've ever spoken to a homeless person, you know this would not address the issue. So obviously, first thing I hear when I hear someone say something like that, besides thinking it's incredibly childish, I also think, have these people ever done any charity work at all? They want to talk about how humanitarian they are, but it doesn't seem as though they've done any charity work or ever even met a homeless person. Now, back to the point at hand, you know, I don't think people realize how much of a financial burden that would be on the taxpayers for everybody to pay for everyone else's kids. All single people have to pay for other people's kids. It's almost like all people who opted out of college because they didn't have the money, now they have to pay off student loans if we do student loan forgiveness. It's a really absurd notion. So these people that have to do without have to pay the college tuition for people who've been to college and now are making more money than them. But anyway, that is actually a real notion I've run into today. One of these arguments I keep getting over and over again, but we can't do away with abortion because there aren't enough government systems in place. Now, as a conservative, I do not believe that we need a lot more government. I don't like that top-heavy government style. I think it's a bad idea. And I'm not going to go into it all right now. But one of the things I want to point out is that it's a fallacy, and I point out some of these fallacies in my 5-Minute Friday video. I'll try to link it in the description here. It may be a little while because I'm on vacation right now. And as slow as I release videos, who knows, that this, you know, this may not even be what anybody's talking about anymore. But I grew up in a poor family. We didn't have to have universal health care. Not to mention that places with universal health care usually have horrible health systems. But, you know, you get no choice of a doctor. You have to do like that couple that had to let their child die, even though France was saying they would pay to try and bring the kid out of a coma. But you know, in the UK, they were saying, no, we're going to let him die, and you can't do anything to stop us. That's the kind of stuff you get with government-ran healthcare. Number one, the government doesn't care about you or your money. So they're not going to try as hard as people who do care about their money. Okay? So if you have, if you make your own decisions instead of letting the government do everything for you, you're going to get better outcomes on those decisions. That's just, you know, common sense. That's why, you know, on government contracts, you have people paying, you know, $32 for a bolt that you could go down at the hardware store basically and buy for $1, right? They don't care about you. They don't care about your money. They don't care whether your family's doing bad or not. You can look at the current situation right now with inflation. What's Biden's response? He doesn't care. It's not that bad, right? Now, do we need these things? Do we need these government subsidies? Do we have to keep abortion around? Well, one of the things these people keep forgetting to mention is that we already have a lot of government subsidies. A lot of the things these people are asking for, you actually can get if you're in desperate need. One thing that I like to point out is that these child care centers, these birth centers or whatever, that actually provide some things for people who are in need, and pro-choice activists are actually burning them down right now. But in America, depending on the state you live in and everything else, you have welfare, you have food stamps or purchase cards, you have Medicare, you have Medicaid, Medicare, you have, in Texas we have CHIP, that's an insurance, health insurance assistant program. You've got all these different social safety nets that do provide help with a lot of these costs. I mean, the things that these people are asking for, they're getting all outraged about. We do already have some things like that. So it's almost like people getting mad saying, well, why don't they just bus the children to school? We do. Why don't we give free lunches to the children who are needy? We do. Okay? So, a lot of things are getting outraged about and saying we should do this before we end abortion. We actually already have some very similar things to this. Now, I think a lot of this stuff should be handled more by, your local community and your family, your church family. But I do, even as a conservative, think it's a really good idea to have some of these social safety nets. And we do have a lot of them in this country. So that's one thing. Another thing that I would just go ahead and point out real quick. And then finally, once again, I'm not trying to blame you if you've had an abortion. Like I said, your sins are no worse than mine. Jesus Christ can forgive anything. He loves you. He wants you to accept his payment for your sins on the cross. I don't think I'm better than you. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to this. This is the primary question or questions you should be asking yourself. Is that embryo inside you, is that a human? And is it alive? Because that's the major question right here. No other kind of comfort, difficulties, hardships that are financial or otherwise can justify you executing your own child. Okay, so if that really is a human being in there, the question really is, do you think it's right to abort your child, a living human being? And so I think that's the real crux of the argument. Almost everybody I talked to today, they threw around a lot of arguments, and I said, yeah, but what if all the things you're bringing up today, you're talking about less than 5% of all abortions. So if we made exceptions for all that, which I don't think we should make exceptions for all of that, can we then agree that all other abortions should be illegal? They don't want to answer that question. And, some of these people, they're people that I care about, people that I like, but, it doesn't matter. When you're wrong, you're wrong. And this is something that is wrong, and it's indefensible. And the reason they don't want to answer these questions is because they know it's indefensible. Why do they call it pro-choice instead of what it really is? Why do they point out to these little statistical anomalies that almost don't exist statistically? Because they know their position's indefensible, and they're trying to avoid it. All right. So I thought this would be a good follow-up video for that 5-Minute Friday. Hey, baby. I got my sweet baby here. I'll see everybody on the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing.